All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Talk here on Bigfoot and More. Welcome. Looks like we've got a few people in the chat already, so we'll get right to it. First of all, as always, I want to say a thank you to our moderator, Cashew Gesundheit. Really appreciate everything you do for us, Cashew. The moderators are the unsung heroes of these podcasts, which I always say. Looks like we got a good bunch over here. David Perkins, that's my friend from down southwest of me. Got Red Dirt Cryptid, Brian Terrell there, Brown Dwarf, Scottish Wildman, Gary Spike Sr., that's another neighbor there, Charlotte Evans. I went to school with somebody named Charlotte Evans. I wonder if that's the same Charlotte Evans. Gene Hudson. Let's see who else we got in here. Amon Chris. You said Gene Hudson, Sharon Guy, Bobby Yancey. Who else we got down here? So there's Nayanta. Hope I'm saying that right, Nayanta. Nayanta Desponde. Well, anyway, everybody that's there, welcome. Glad you showed up. TAC 1. Hello, there's my friend Andy Babb there. Glad to see everybody there. There's Live Wire. How you doing, Mark? Evelyn Val. So anyway, hey, thanks everybody for coming. Got a good show for you tonight. Just got back from a weekend camping trip with a friend come down all the way from Ohio, and we'll get to that. As always, want to mention my books. If you haven't read them already, this is the first book I published called The Champé, and link is in the description. If you want to read about some of my research into this subject, I've got a Kiamichi Bigfoot investigating the Oklahoma Sasquatch. That is also has a link to that in the description, and they're available on ebook or paperback on Amazon. And also, if anyone is going to be down in Jefferson, Texas this weekend for the Texas Bigfoot Conference, I will be there on Saturday selling and signing books there, and they've got a really good lineup down there. I believe I'm not even going to start naming all the names. Lyle Blackburn is one. Shelley Covington, Montana, which I spoke at the Honubby Bigfoot Conference last week, and she was there as well. And so then that was a neat deal. But anyway, with that being said, we're going to welcome our guest here, and he's been on here a couple of times. This is Will from WillStar Mysteries. I've got a link to his channel below as well. And if you haven't checked out WillStar Mysteries, check out his channel. He does a great job, especially if you like to hear those old historical Bigfoot encounters and sightings and stuff from all the 100s and stuff. Will reports on those and shows the location that they're at and all. So that being said, here is Will himself.
How's it going?
Will, everybody? It seems like I've seen you not too long ago.
I don't know. I can't remember. You think so?
Well, see, Will. Oh, one more thing I want to say in chat. Hey, I saw you there. And Mel Gillum, if you have questions to ask us, please put the questions in caps, okay? I do my best to answer all the questions, but sometimes I don't see them all. So if you'll put them in caps, I'll have a better chance of seeing them. Will, I'm sure, would want to answer some of those as well. Cornell from the No Such Thing podcast was supposed to be on as well, but he has a early work morning, so he can't make it. But I did link to his channel as well. So just to give you all a build up to this, Will came down, was it Friday, flew to Dallas, and you made a pit stop at the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, ran out on the field with the police chasing him. No, he didn't do that, but
that's funny. Can't hear you, David. Is it just me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all, Dave. David, you're muted. Well, hello everybody. It was a fun trip, I'll tell you that. David, you muted yourself, bud. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Yeah, I took a plane from Cleveland, Ohio down to Dallas. It's a nice flight. Then I had to stand in line for 2.5 hours renting a car. They told me I could skip the line. Not so much. They said they didn't have enough people working there, so I had to stand in line for 2.5 hours. Got the car. I was in Dallas, so I had to go see the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Ran there real fast. Got a personal tour. The tours usually take an hour and a half, but this one I kind of talked my way into getting one in 15 minutes, and I think David's back. David, are you back? Maybe not. So yeah, so I took a tour. I think he's back now, maybe. You're still muted, David.
Yeah, let me fix it. It's a stupid mic. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're good now.
Okay. This mic was giving me problems. I unplugged it. So anyway, we'll go from there.
Nice.
So it's all good?
Yeah, everything's good.
All right. So go ahead and finish your...
I was just telling them, I took the stadium tour, and then I had to drive all the way up to Oklahoma, met up with Dave, and then I'll let Dave take it from there.
All right. So, yeah, we made a quick stop at Walmart, got a bunch of food and stuff, and headed there. We got to the camp. What time was it? About 8:30.
Yeah,
not terribly late.
Yeah. And
we didn't set up a tent or anything, but we went hiking deeper in as soon as we got there, down into the creek bottoms. And later, when we were down there, something was walking down one of those that come down in there, and it displaced some rocks. So that's about all we heard on the first night. The second night was quite eventful, as we'll get to that. But anyway, what'd you think of that place, Will?
Very squatchy. I was very surprised. A man from Ohio, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking Oklahoma's like flat, with the oil rigs, like I was telling you. When I get down there, it's more, that area of Kentucky is more reminiscent of that area of Oklahoma is more reminiscent of like a Kentucky. I was really surprised.
Yeah.
It was just really dry, unfortunately, but that's the way that it is, I guess, down there sometimes.
Yeah, my background there, that what you're seeing in the background, that's actually a view just across that little trail from our campsite. That's what it normally looks like down there in the summer. But yeah, it's the leaves are starting to change and stuff, but it's not because of the fall. It's because of the drought. It's just extremely dry. This is my first time camping down there that we didn't light a campfire because there's a burn ban. But a lot of people that come down here, I know that haven't been to this part of Oklahoma, their picture in their mind of Oklahoma is like the Great Plains and stuff, which we do have that in Oklahoma. It's a very diverse. If you go down to the southwest part of the state into the Wichita Mountains, that looks more reminiscent of what you'd think of in New Mexico or something, And then the Kiamichi Mountains, where we're at, that's probably in appearance not much different than like the Appalachian Mountains, which you've been there before. So
yes,
is it quite a bit the same?
Absolutely is. That's why I was thinking it was reminiscent to me of like a Kentucky area.
Yeah.
In the Appalachian region there. Yeah. So because I'm from Ohio, I'm close to Kentucky, West Virginia. My dad's from West Virginia. So I've been in the Appalachian region. It might not be on the same level as like a West Virginia, but it was more like a Kentucky. But it definitely surprised me. And it's an area that definitely could hold a bunch of these creatures, in my opinion. There's game there. You could probably tell everybody, the animals that are in there, but vegetation, water usually, unfortunately this year, there was water, but they were in these deeper holes. Other than that, the creek was kind of dried out a little bit.
Yeah, not very much. Usually, like where I told you we were walking in the creek, I would usually be waist deep in it. But yeah, as far as the animals, it'd be the same animals you have in the Appalachians: white-tailed deer, black bear, bobcat, coyote. Just it's pretty much the same as far as the wildlife.
Sure.
We already have a question for you, Will, from Joe here at Western New York. Bigfoot said, "Have you been back to the area where you had your possible sighting?"
Joe, that's actually coming at the end of this month, the last weekend of October. I will be back there. I planned it out for exactly the same time of year. It was back in 2000. It was 22 years ago, but just in case there's like some kind of correlation with maybe migration or something like that, so I wanted to get it at the same exact time if I could, and I did. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up.
All right, cool. Well, what this whole show is tonight, pretty much, Joe and everybody there is, Will shot a lot of video down there. I shot some of it in night vision, which I have a camera that has that on it as well. And I'm curious to see what Will comes up with his. I know he ran the battery down on his camera several times. Yeah. So I know he's got a lot of it, and I've got quite a bit as well. I've just got to whittle it down to, the stuff that I think is more interesting. Some of it, if any of you here like to enjoy watching people on a good hike, there's a lot of that, but then there's some pretty interesting stuff too. And most of that happened on the second night there for sure. But yeah, the first night we was there, like I said, we got there about 8:30, and we hiked down. And other than the sound of the rocks kind of being stepped on and knocked over and stuff in the distance from us, not real far, maybe 100 yards, I'm guessing, wouldn't you, Will?
Yeah,
probably
70, 80, 100 yards, something like that.
Really happened. It was just neat camp night, and
it really was,
turned in,
and we stayed up till 2:30. Remember, we were surprised.
Yeah.
We thought it was earlier, and it was literally 2:30. We were, yeah.
And the only problem with as dry as it was, we looked everywhere and anywhere that a footprint could have been left on a normal occasion. But here's how dry it was. The ground was so hard and dry. I tried to throw my machete into the ground and stick, and it just bounced off of it. I'm like, that is not usually how this is.
No.
Now, I think I saw Live Wire. That's my friend Mark. He was in here earlier. Now, he's with me a couple of years ago, I guess. So anyway, that second day, we got up. I got up. I was up. Oh gosh, probably 6 o'clock in the morning. We're well below daylight. And Will, and I've got some fantastic video of Will just rising from the sleeping bag on that, because it was. I'd got up before dawn, and I'd walked down the trail both ways, walked out in the woods, come back, and of course Will, he was kind of sleeping off some jet lag. He'd only had a couple of hours of sleep, and then we got up and immediately kind of did more recon of the area, But really, the night is when the interesting stuff started to happen. Because like I said, anything that even looked like a possible footprint was so old and dry, it was just, the one I'm talking about that was in the road there. But
Yeah.
you really, to say it was a Bigfoot footprint would have been taking a lot more imagination than I'm willing to put into it,
Sure.
So that, the ground would just, if you're in Oklahoma now, or even probably Northeast Texas, probably the same way too, just stinking dry. Here's Brian Terrell wants you to do something, Will. He said, give us a better look at that T-shirt.
There you go, Brian. Brownies.
What
Dallas
is
Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns are my team. I live in Cleveland, so lifelong Cleveland.
Okay.
Browns fan.
Well, I don't really care about football or anything.
Yeah.
It's a big deal up here now because OU is like Oklahoma's team, or so to speak, and Texas beat them like 40
they put a spanking on them.
Yeah. So it was See here. Yeah, Nyanto, we will. Thanks for stopping by, man. Let's see. But anyway, like I say, we'll move on to night number 2, and y'all can ask questions about that. Earlier after dark, we heard a distant howl. It sounded very much to both of us like that Ohio howl.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't real close. We went off into the woods. We went up over to where the ridge into the bottoms, to where we had heard the rocks being displaced. I was filming on my camera with the night vision on it, which if you look at the screen on this, it's kind of bright with the night vision. You look away from it, you can't see anything because it's, takes away your own natural night vision. So I was pretty much walking with it to the side, and we were trying not to use flashlights. Because the moon was out pretty bright. So it was like that, but still it was just, and Mark there at Livewire knows what I'm talking about. There around the camp, it's just a boulder field, so after about falling and breaking my neck a couple of times, we erred on caution and turned the flashlights on out there for a little bit. But then we got back to camp, just snacking snack food, because earlier in the day, Will on the way up there had stopped and bought 2 of the biggest T-bone steaks I've ever seen. I'm not exaggerating. Them things were that thick. And I cooked them on a camp stove.
And they were delicious.
Those were so big a steak. And I'm going to have that on the video too, because they take up the whole pan. And I'm not a big eater, and I ate pretty much all of that. And we were neither of us even hungry for supper time. So we just kind of snacked around. But we were listening to the owls, listening to the night, all of that stuff, just sitting in camp chairs. And behind us, it couldn't have been very far, Will.
We were in the dark. Let everybody
we were
know.
in the dark. There's no
It's
camp
black.
lights.
No lights on. None of that.
Well, it was moonlight, but there was we had no artificial lights on. But behind us in the woods, this loud whoop, and it was like a whoop right on top of a whoop. And of course, I remember Will saying, like, "Is that an owl?" I'm like, "No, that's not an owl. That's definitely not an owl." And we both kind of got to our feet, and just shortly after that, moving around the camp. And of course, there's keep in mind when I say here moving around the camp, I'm not saying that was a Sasquatch moving around the camp. Not at this point, anyway, because there's a lot of things moves around in the woods. We all know that. But it did sound like bipedal walking along the top of that ridge. So we get our cameras and stuff, and we walk in the woods that direction. And of course, whatever was out there, it either went away or it hid behind something. And there's a whole lot of somethings to hide behind.
A whole lot.
A whole lot. A lot of boulders. Now, if any of y'all
watched many boulders in my life.
Oh yeah, we were at the camp we was at.
Yeah.
And like I say, Livewire, if you're still on there watching, we were at that furthest campsite, not the one that we camped at when you and Austin came down with me, but the farthest one. I think we walked up to it, but it's right at the base of a boulder field coming down the side of this mountain. And then on the other side, it drops down real steep again, all the way to the creek. And if you go to the east of us, it drops down in the creek bottoms, which is very swampy. Generally down there is very dry, but we did walk around and record a while. Got back to camp, and we hadn't been there for very long when a rock was tossed into the edge of our camp. And that's when I told Will, I said, that puts everything in a whole new perspective. You can mistake something walking. You may misidentify an animal call, but only 2 things can grab a rock and throw it, to my knowledge, in these woods. And that's either a person or a Sasquatch. And where we were at, I can promise you it was not another person.
Yeah.
Because they would have had to walk down that boulder field or from one other direction, which in the dark with no flashlights would have been suicidal.
Yeah,
You could not have driven anywhere within a half mile of us that we wouldn't have heard. And the rock, my best estimate, we couldn't find it when we went looking because it's nothing but rocks, but it hit the ground and it bounced. And I had my camera still going, and I was telling Will, I said, I hope my camera mic picked that up, and it did pick it up. You can clearly hear that rock hitting in the pine needles and bouncing. So with that, I don't think it could have been anything but a Sasquatch.
And right at that moment, everything turned up, like as far as like our heightened like senses. Like to me, that was a brand new experience for me because with my encounter, it was just curious. It didn't throw any rocks. It didn't do anything like that. I yelled at it. Believe it or not, it turned away and walked away. But with this, it felt more like, I don't know, not curiosity, but kind of, to me, now this is your area, so you would know better than me. But to me, it felt kind of like they were stalking us a little bit, kind of. I don't know. Especially because we were hearing things up on the left when we were sitting there in our chairs, is what I mean, David. We were hearing things over there on the left and then up on that right ridge. And then all of a sudden, bam, behind us, that big whoop whoop. And then after that, the rock throw, it just, in my mind, I'm like, man, what's going to happen next? You know, and you can probably tell that in the video that it was something that I wasn't used to, but, you know, I'm glad that it happened, to be honest with you. You know, I'm glad I got to experience that.
Yeah. Mel, that's right. Switch on for the awareness when that happens. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Now, I did not feel any sense of menace or anything like that. You know, and I remember Will asked him, why do they do that? Why do they throw rocks? Well, obviously it wasn't trying to hit us with the rock, or it very easily could have. It was like it just tossed it there at the edge of the camp. I don't know. Are they messing with you? Like,
did they want us out of there? I mean, that's what was going on in my mind. Did they want us to leave, like get out of here? You know, I didn't know.
I would think a get out would be more of a direct throw.
Okay.
You know, now I've experienced rock throw down there in that area before. Down, you know, the first campsite where I was telling you. Yeah. But that one happened back, 2003 of March, and that was that one I felt like it was kind of a get out because it was a rock about 25, 30 against a tree about 20 foot from where we were sleeping.
Wow.
Can Squatch, I did not detect any odor at all. And, you know, honestly, I think I was reading somewhere that only like 10% or so of Bigfoot encounters actually any kind of bad odor is talked about, you know. Yeah. So
I think in my own opinion on that is it might be like a seasonal thing for mating or like a defense mechanism when they feel threatened. But other than that, I don't think they walk around smelling like that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Hey, there's David Perkins. Camping during a burn ban with no fire out there. My senses would be heightened. Yeah, you do. Yeah. You do pay attention. Yeah. Let's see. Brian, Red Dirt Cryptid, did you guys use thermals or any other tech? Brian, I don't have a thermal. I do have a camera with night vision on it, and we did incorporate that. But of course, in the thick woods, the night vision doesn't penetrate well into the woods, but it's definitely useful. Yeah, thermal would be useful. I would like to have had one. I did a last October where I was in the same campsite and I was solo camping. And if you, I think I typed it out there, and I saw something duck behind this boulder above the camp. And I made the comment on that video. I said, I'm not going to go up there and look, but I kind of feel like that rock was maybe lobbed at our camp from the area where that big boulder is, because it's definitely a big enough one to hide behind and throw something and then retreat back up behind it without being seen.
Yeah.
Johnny, I always have a sidearm when I camp. Not because I think I'm going to need it against a Sasquatch. The reason I carry a sidearm is because, if there's some kind of criminal element, and I have had some couple of 3 of them actually tweakers come into one of my camps one time, and seeing that I was armed, they decided to go somewhere else, and that's the only reason I carry one. I really feel like if they with the stealth and speed a Sasquatch can move, I think if they wanted to get you, they'd probably have you before you had a chance to bring a gun to bear. And I've said it before, and I'll still say it: if Sasquatch is out to get people at it. So getting a few questions here. Still a lot of leaves on trees. Yeah, there is, Ken Squatch. There's a lot of the hardwoods are turning brown, but it's due to the drought down here. It's not really, the leaves don't generally start to change here till late October. You want to add anything there, Will?
Other than I was surprised at not seeing very many snakes. That surprised me because I know that you talk about all the cottonmouths down there, and I was kind of looking forward to seeing one of those.
Yeah, well, that kind of cool front had come in and all. So yeah, there wasn't any snakes out there. Now, if we wanted to go down there into the brush beside the creek and start digging into it, we'd have found them. But I'm not sticking my arm in. I told Will, we got to one place that looked like a den. I said, Will, stick your arm down in there and see if anything's in it. But he didn't like the idea very well.
Yeah.
So
it was a great time down there. I'm telling you. I mean, I really had a good time, David. So I appreciate you inviting me down. Yeah,
it was a good time. And let's see here.
We got some pretty good footage. I mean,
Ahmad Chris, do you think Bigfoot has ever scared any tweakers straight? You may be onto something there. For a drug rehab program, drop the tweakers off in one of those high levels like that and see if that works. Worth a try, I guess. But yeah, how much footage did you get, Will?
Hour and a half, 2 hours total.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to edit it away. I got a half an hour of an interview with you though, remember? So that's what I'm working on first. I'm gonna release that first, so my viewers can understand about the area better and who you are and who I was with and things like that. And I'll release that first, and then we'll get into the first day and the second day from there.
Yeah, that'd be the easier one there,
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I've got a total about 40 minutes of a video with the night vision on. And as you were there, I was for the most part not looking at the screen. I was just walking and holding it to the side where we could still see where we were going. So I went to the one and fast forwarded it to the part where the rock was thrown to see if the camera or the microphone from the camera picked it up, and it did. And I was tickled to death about that, because it's like, it's not going to be one of those things we just said a rock was thrown, but we didn't catch it. We did catch that.
Yeah,
people. The only thing better than that would have been if we'd actually got a Bigfoot on video. And fingers crossed, I would probably not, but when going through the night vision footage, if by chance it caught movement in the deeper forest or something, I would just be elated at that.
Oh, that would be amazing if you found that. Yeah, absolutely.
Gary Spikes, no, we were not at Area X. Not real close to there anyway. It was probably probably 30 miles from there. I got to put as the crow flies, because if you do highway miles, it's a lot further than it actually is in a straight line. But no, we were not at Area X. I actually haven't been in that area for a long time, since the early 2000s. No, Keith, I've never tried gifting anywhere. Well, now wait a minute. As far as now, are you talking about like food, or are you talking about leaving a shiny trinket in the woods? I'm not sure. If you're talking about food, I remember, and it's been a long time. Back in 2003, it's actually, I think it was the same trip that the rock got thrown against the tree down there. My buddy Brian Baker, he brought a bag of apples down there, those little Granny Smith apples like you make apple pies with, and left some of those out in the woods, and they were gone the next day. So maybe he threw the rock because he didn't like those. No, but and who knows what took the apples, but something did. But that's about as close to what you'd call gifting. I've never. Now, when Cornell was down the year before last, he brought some kind of crystal or something. I don't know. Somebody told him a Bigfoot might like it or something, but no, I guess it didn't. It was still there the next morning. Have you ever done anything like that, Will?
No, I've never left anything for a Bigfoot like that because I don't know. I mean, with food, how would you know who took it? If, in my opinion, you know what I mean, or anything else, like a bird could come down and pick up a trinket. They're attracted to those type of things,
Right. So. And yeah, I don't know. I've never, like I said, the closest thing to any type of gifting I've ever done and that was really my friend Brian that did that. He thought, well, let's see if it'll take it. And of course, back then, 2003, I wasn't even aware of anything like game cameras at that time. Yeah. So we didn't. Let's see. Were you at the same place where Cornell was with? Yes, Strangeland, we were. And that's kind of why we was hoping Cornell would be able to come on with us tonight, because he can relate to of the area. Actually, where we were camping, Strangeland, was the exact same camp spot where something came down and stood there beside his tent and freaked him out pretty heavy. So it was the same. And this time we got the loudest, closest vocalization in a long time with that whoop. Usually when I hear a whoop, and even what Cornell recorded, it was a whoop. It was right there, just the one, and maybe a pause, and then another one at a distance somewhere. These, when me and Will were sitting there in the chair, it was like two just blasted right on top of each other.
Yeah.
And we both come out of our chairs, because it was in back of us, and
yeah. And I had the parabolic thing on, so it was
so you really heard it.
Yeah, I was like,
"Oh, that must have hurt your ears."
Oh, and then I looked at you, and you were like, "Oh," so I was like, "Oh, it's about to get turned up."
Yeah, that was pretty neat. Absolutely. But yeah, it was the exact same camp spot.
Yeah.
Oh, man, thanks, Mel. Appreciate that.
Nice.
A lot. Appreciate it. But yeah, it definitely turned our awareness up. But honestly, by that, after the rock was thrown, how long after the loud vocalization, about how long after that was it till the rock was thrown? It wasn't that long.
No, you're right.
I hate to say minutes, because we were just so focused on. After that whoop, we were just hyper focused on everything around us.
Yeah.
But we heard movement, like literally like something walking, but it would take like 2 or 3 like stealthy steps and just stop.
Yeah.
Wouldn't move. And then I think there had to be at least 2 of these creatures, whatever, close to us, possibly 3, but all I can verify is, as far as hearing 2 different ones on opposite parts of camp, I can only say 2 for sure. But
I was thinking there might be 3, because we were hearing those 2 out there, and then the whoop behind us. I'm thinking one like snuck behind us. I don't know if one of those two from out there did that, but I defer to you. You know the area more than me. And
well, I mean, the only reason and there may well be, but there was a time where we heard movement at the same time from opposite sides of the camp. So that's why I'm saying I can only verify that there was at least two, and then possibly three, because the rock was thrown from the different side. Like the movement we heard first, it was to the east of camp, and the whoop come from the west. The rock was thrown from the south side. So it was a fun time. And I'm glad like that, simply because for you to come all that way, and Joe, man, appreciate that. That's real kind of you. I appreciate it.
What did it say?
I'm trying not to miss any questions here. We're getting quite a few questions here now. So let me go up here. Cashew. Charlotte.
Yeah, even if nothing happened, David, the trip would have been well worth it to me, because I get to hang out with a well-respected Bigfoot researcher that's been doing it for decades. Plus, I get to an area of the country that I've never been to. And on top of that, as a bonus, I get to film it and put it on YouTube, and people get to enjoy it and watch it. So I mean,
and I hope they do. I know. I was teasing Will. Will's channel has grown just exponentially. I mean, I remember when you had like 4,000 or 5,000 subs, and now you're up to like 40, right at 40,000. Yeah. I think a lot of it, man, is just the way you present those old historical reports, how you zoom in on the locations, give all the history behind them and stuff.
Sure.
And we were joking about, I may get 4,000 or 5,000 views on what I do, and you'll probably get 1 million, and seriously, that would be great. Just, I want people to see what we got, and hopefully they enjoy it and learn a little bit about if you've been watching my channel for very long, you're should be pretty familiar with the Kiamichi area.
Yeah.
And all that. And I try to video quite a bit when I'm down there. I still haven't put together or very much of it from late July when I was there. I did one short, but I've still got more there. Andy, and there's I'm going to make a good point here. Andy said, when the rock landed, did the nighttime sounds quieten down? Okay, before Will gives his perspective, I was so tuned into the sound of that rock, I can't tell you if the night sounds quit or not. Do you remember, Will?
I concur. I was like, whoa, what's going on? I wasn't thinking about sounds. We were like discussing what was going on. Like, oh my, where did that come from? Did you hear that? So that wasn't really what was on my mind, Andy, to be honest with you.
Now, when the whoop, I know when the whoop was real loud there and stuff, everything quietened down for a little while.
It definitely did. I think everything got frightened at that moment or something. It was just,
after the rock hit, and it wasn't something that could be mistaken. It wasn't like a branch crack or something like that. You actually hear this rock hit the ground and bounce.
I think it hit a boulder first, didn't it? And then bounced. I mean, I'm not sure about that.
No, going back, listening to it, I hear it. It hits the ground, like between the rocks, like hit between the boulders and bounced.
Okay.
And you actually hear it. I played it here in the store.
Yeah.
For some of my customers and stuff, they're here and say, they're like, yeah, you can even hear it bounce after it hits. I'm like, yes. I'm so want people to understand that when something does happen, we don't have a heads up like, okay, something's about to happen here. There's about to be a vocalization, so turn your stuff on and all that. We had just happened to have these things on when this happened. So I'm so happy about that.
Did we get to whoop? Did we get the real loud whoop though? I haven't been back in my footage. I don't think we got that one though. That's what
Um,
I wish we would have been recording, but
absolutely
we were
did
just
not
sitting there in
there.
the dark listening. Yeah.
Yeah, at that time we hadn't heard anything
Oh,
up to that point. We were just kind of sitting there visiting. We just put the lawn chairs up. We're just sitting there.
listening with the parabolic.
Rangeland said, "Did you sleep out in a hammock or a tent?" No tent. What we did is, yeah, we slept out in the open, but it was in the bed of my pickup truck. We both had a couple of bed rolls, and we just rolled them out in the bed of the truck. Now it kept kind of spitting a few raindrops every once in a while. So usually I make a lean-to with a tarp, but here I just, because it was raining on and off, so to keep from getting wet, we just took the tarp and put it over the bed of the pickup, like to make a little shallow tent out of that, and went to sleep there. So
I was
that's
surprised
what
how
we did.
warm it kept us, to be honest with you.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
remember,
yeah.
I was like, I might get cold out here because I didn't have time to put up the tent the first night. I might sleep in the front of your truck, in the cab of your truck. And he was like, "Oh, you're not going to leave me out here by myself, right?" And I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
I got to do it now." So. And then after that, I found out it was warm.
I jokingly, and in my one rule is things I never talk about on here is religion and politics. But me and Will, we kind of just for kicks, we're sparring with each other, and I said,
Yep.
"You do know you have to agree with me down here about everything. I'm just going to leave you." No, but seriously, man, we had a great time. Mel says the tree frogs have quit around here. Have they quit down home or south, Dave? I didn't hear any tree frogs there, and I haven't heard them much this year around the house. Usually at my house, okay, I'm going to put this up here with a thank you to Joe too. I think I already said thank you for the gift. That's great. I appreciate it. But he said, just my opinion, but I agree with WillStar on gifting. Anything could interact with whatever you leave. Not good evidence of Sasquatch being around. And honestly, I agree. I agree with that as well. And that's what I say, the closest thing to any type of gifting I've ever done. And like I said, that was my buddy Brian who put the apples out. And like I said, with that, yeah, something took I want to say he left like 3 of them, because I know we ate several of them, but he left, I think, 3. And of course, keep in mind, this was back in March of 2003. Something took them, but there were no footprints. Now, if you gifted something and there was some good mud there, and whatever took said gift was kind enough to leave a footprint in it, I would say that would be good evidence. But it's kind of like, Will, you said you had talked to somebody about giving you some kind of tag with some kind of ape pheromone on it you wanted to bring. And my question was, why would a Sasquatch be attracted to a chimpanzee? Because to what I know about it, and somebody that knows more about it, feel free to mention it in the chat. Sexual pheromones from an animal seems to be, as far as I know, species specific. I mean, a deer doesn't go in heat and attract a buffalo.
Well, here's the theory.
And let me say this real quick, Will.
Sure.
The one thing about the pheromone thing that I have noticed, it's never been successful to my knowledge. So anyway, your thoughts on it, Will.
Well, here's the theory on that. There's a lot of reports of couples, at night having encounters with a curious Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And so they're thinking that maybe this, scent of whatever is going on. So they're thinking that a female pheromone would work with that, attracting a Bigfoot in, because something in those lines. So the other one was the gorilla pheromone chip, but I agree with you on that one. I mean, if it's not I don't think it's a gorilla type creature. I think it's more of a human type creature. Either. So in my mind, that the human female one might work, but it hasn't proven to work yet. So
actually, on that, going back to one of the stories that you reported on, and this is what I've said in the past too, if And Chris Kimball, I'm going to go ahead and put your question up here too. If there's anything in, Seminole, I know you're from the Seminole tribe, legends about that, but I know up in like the Pacific Northwest, there are old legends about a Sasquatch kidnapping a young native maiden and even producing a child with them. Now, if those are real, not just folklore or whatever, then it would have to be closely related to that and therefore may be attracted.
Right.
So, Chris, to your question there, and I wish it were that easy. I did look for the rock, but it's nothing but rocks. It literally was in this boulder field, millions of small rocks that would have been about that size, and they were everywhere. It was literally, I was looking through them and stuff, and I'm like, it's literally take your pick.
Yeah.
On that. And I wish I could have, but I did not, which is why I'm glad I caught the sound of it hitting and bouncing but it probably, from the best of my calculations, probably landed within about 20 foot of us. So it wasn't like it was thrown at us like with intention to hit us or something, but I don't know. Would it be, and here I'm just guessing, would it be young one trying to mess with us, like being mischievous or something? I don't know. All I can tell you for sure is something did throw a rock, and it did hit, and it did bounce outside of our camp.
And all I can tell you is I sure wish I would have known what its intentions were at that moment, because I had no idea myself. So
yeah. Now, like I said before, not feel any, and maybe it's just because I've been down there. So I did not feel like we were in any danger at any time. My, I mean, just the surprise of how loud the vocalization was. And then we get the rock thrown there. That was just, I can't really tell you the emotion. It was just like, now I can hear it when I'm playing back that part, and you guys will hear it too when I get it edited.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Will, you did not just throw a rock. He's like, bro, I'm right here beside you.
Right.
He's like, why do they do
I wasn't
that?
leaving his side, guys. It was dark, and he had the night camera. I wasn't leaving his side.
And when I look over at Will, he's standing there. He's got the parabolic microphone, the earphones in one hand and the dish in the other. It was. Come on, Chris. Let me see here on this. I'm trying to get everybody's question here. Has anyone ever tried the sound aspect of that instead of the smell?
I think he's talking about the couples copulating.
Well, I can say I never have.
Because like I was saying before, supposedly that it attracts curious. So.
Yeah. And Ron Moorhead, in his book, I was just reading through it the other night. He said, as far as going out in the woods looking for Bigfoot, he said, you don't find them, they find you. And I have found, in my own experience, I've found that to be true, because when we were hearing the footsteps and stuff out in camp, the one time when we went that direction, either it hunkered down behind something and hid, or it went away. When we went back to camp, sat down and just started carrying on the conversation, that's when we got the rock throw, when the vocalization and stuff. And that's when we would hear the movement, when we were not away from camp actually trying to pursue it. And I know that, but I just can't help it. When I hear something out in the woods, I want to go investigate,
Yeah.
Now what we did, and I was, our light discipline there, we did not turn the flashlights on a lot and go charging off in the woods, which is, just doesn't work. Here's something, Strange Lands says, pheromone chip, perhaps a predator would smell it and come in out of curiosity or hunger. Well, yeah, and that's very, very possible.
True.
I'm catching up on the texts over here. Okay. Nana Anna, take a woman for bait. I don't think that's legal, Nana, and so far my wife is not volunteering. But if a woman, I don't know. I spoke at the Honubby Bigfoot conference here on October 1st, and Shelley Covington, Montana, who does a lot of research. I mean, I can go out into the woods for a couple of nights at a time. Her and the other speakers were in the same cabin with me, and we would sit around and talk. And she goes up into like Oregon, Washington, and will stay out there by herself for like 4 weeks at a time.
That's impressive, right?
And so far, nothing has come. She's had an encounter up there, but it wasn't anything aggressive like that. So I think she just saw the form of it in the dark outside of her camp, from what I'm understanding there. But yeah, I mean that's a brave lady, I can tell you that
for sure.
Let's see, well, my chat went away for a minute.
You got it back?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
But yeah, anybody have any questions for WillStar or myself? Just put them in caps, and I will get to them. Here's Andy. Said heard several accounts of blue-eyed Sasquatches this week. FYI, human female pheromone.
That's what I was thinking too, Andy. But unfortunately,
I'm not keen on collecting that. However that works. I think I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing here. We had pretty good. The only way, Will, that could have been more successful in my view was if it had stood up from where it was hiding when it threw that rock and let us get a good look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or another big yell or you howl right then, like get out of here. Not saying get out of here, but that's how I would have took it, Yeah, but a visual on it would have been the cherry on the cake, that's for sure.
But yeah, Andy, I haven't heard anything about the blue-eyed Sasquatches. That's interesting. Yeah, shoot me an email or something about where that was, or a link to it if you don't care, Andy. I'd love to look into that. But I've not heard that. All of the reports I've got from someone where they were up close enough to actually see the eyes. It's been very dark eyes, and they couldn't see the whites of their eyes. And yeah, Chris, I believe Ron is quite correct there. You don't find them, they find you. And I think that
I agree with that.
For the biggest part, I don't know anybody could disprove it, No. Here's Gary Spock says cook bacon and they will come around. Everybody loves bacon. And we didn't. I'm surprised that the steak we were cooking didn't bring them in. Yeah. And you know what? It might have, because it was after that evening when it started happening.
That's a good point.
So let me see here. Okay, here's an interesting one from Strangeland. He said, I put a recorder up in the visor of my SUV with the window down a half inch. I picked up sounds of door handles pulled and small taps like rocks, but odd voice sounds on nights of it raining out. Where is this, up in Canada? Strangely, he's from I believe Newfoundland, if I'm remembering correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but he's from I remember correctly, way up north there. No. And is that in that area, Strangeland? Let's see. Oh my goodness, dirt. Yeah, that's not nice. Shelley Harris said you could use her as bait. Okay, now I'm gonna, I don't see Shelley in chat here, but I know that would not work because back. Okay, y'all don't know, but Shelley, back when 20 years ago, I had a website and called the southernbigfoot.com, and I had a Southern Bigfoot Association. Shelley was one of my investigators that took care of any reports I got from the western part, anything west of I-35, she would look into it. And then anything from, northeast, I had another fellow, Dan Bell, that would look into that. And I would monitor things around here. But one time, gosh, well, I'm ashamed to say this. We were on a bridge. It was me and her and some other people. And she was listening in the woods. And on this bridge, I reached down and grabbed her ankle, like something reaching up from under the bridge. And she let out this scream. That anyway, I don't think she would really want to be used as bait. But that's probably what she's thinking when she said that. But yeah, she's an old friend. David Perkins. David, other people have asked me that. Have you ever taken your guitar out camping? I've always wondered if that sound could attract something out in the middle of nowhere. I have not, but now one of the speakers at Honubby was, I believe he's Cherokee native, Pete Buffalo Head. And we were in camp, and he was talking about it. And he's an advocate of that. And I haven't been on here. When we were down the cabin outside Honubby near Neshoba, I've heard people talk about orbs and stuff, and I've never seen anything like that before. But we did see some kind of lights moving in the woods on one of those nights that we were in that cabin. It wasn't just witnessed by me. I saw it. I'd walked away from our cabin down towards the pine forest outside of camp, and I noticed this small light. I thought it was maybe a reflector reflecting from the moon, or maybe a porch light or something on the cattle guard. But when I started walking toward it, it kind of drifted off, like more further into the woods.
Wow.
And so I got Pete's attention. I said, Pete, you see that? He's like, yeah. And I said, and not to lead him on, I said, well, point at where you're seeing this. And he pointed to the exact location.
Yeah.
And then Shelley Covington, she was over at a campfire probably 100 yards from us, so she didn't see it. But there was a woman there named Henry. She saw it. She was up further from us playing with the thermal and shot it, and it didn't pick up in the thermal. Now, here's the perception. Me, in my mind, what's going in is what kind of atmospheric phenomenon or static electricity or something like that causes that to happen. That's the scientific part of me. Yeah. And I would walk down there close to it. It just kind of drift off and just blink out. And that's what I'm doing. Now, Pete Buffalo Head come up beside me, and he said, Dave, don't follow that light into the woods. And I said, Pete, I'm going to follow it. But the thing is, I would get where I walk toward it, and it would either just blink out or, drift deeper in the woods. Sure. And anyway, then you couldn't see it at all. I'm like going, no, this is, what kind of atmospheric phenomena causes that? Because I'm thinking static electricity, something like that.
Sure.
And I asked Pete when we got back, I said, Pete, why not follow something like that into the woods? He goes, because that's the little people. So from his culture, and David Perkins that's on here, I've heard his mother talk about that on the Comanche side, that they equate those lights with like the little people. So that's two different perspectives. I'm looking at this going, wow, that's some static electricity or whatever. And Pete's like, no, that's this.
Sure.
So all I can tell you for sure is that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. And it was just odd.
Yeah.
Pete, he didn't act like it was any big deal. It's like he's seen that before. He said, yeah, I'll stand here and watch it. Just don't follow it into the woods.
Wow.
And he said, and I said, why not follow it? He said, because it'll lead you off into the woods and you'll get lost. And of course, I'm like, well, I don't need any help getting lost. I can do that, But Yeah, if you cook it, they will come. Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Um, yeah, Strange Lands. Yes, here in Newfoundland. So he's in the far north.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Chris, if I was in the vehicle and something was pulling on the door handles, that would definitely get my, there. Yeah, cashew. It's funny. Yeah, like I say, Shelly's a good friend of mine. We've been friends for good gosh over 20 years and all that. So let's see. Um,
You know what could have made the only thing that could have made the trip better, Dave? Well, besides the creature walking right through camp, like you said, or standing up, is if Cornell was with us, man. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Cornell.
just to hear his reaction,
Yeah,
would have
absolutely. The
been neat.
third
And
person there,
that's
like the third person perspective.
yeah,
So
and hopefully next time, it'll work out where he can come. And Amon, Chris,
sure.
how does Dave feel about spook lights? Amon, I'm assuming spook lights may be what some people are calling orbs,
Orbs.
what
Yeah.
my friend Pete was calling little people or whatever. So I don't know. When I see something like that, I'm thinking, well, when I did, that's the only time I've ever seen that. And like I said, in my mind, I'm thinking some kind of atmospheric phenomenon or something. So that's not something I've ever looked into before, and it's just by chance that we saw that night. I was just really happy that Pete was there to see it at the same time I was, and then Henry saw it also. Western New York, and let me tell you, Joe's about as here at Western New York. He's about as analytical a person as you'll meet, And he said, I've only seen one orb-like thing in my entire life in the woods. Thank Jimmy, my wife was with me and saw it too, so I know it wasn't just my mind playing tricks.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's important too. That's why I got Pete's, and hopefully sometime maybe I can get Pete on the show and let him talk about his tribal perspective on it and stuff. So yeah, but when he saw it and all that, he didn't even act surprised. Like, yeah, he said, just don't follow it in the woods, But so it was a treat. Yeah, Malcolm, it's my friend Malcolm. He's in the store today. And do not follow the lights.
Don't do it.
Malcolm, I will.
It's like irresistible, right? Like you got to do it.
It's like, if you think there's a Bigfoot in the woods, why would you go out there? It's like, I'm going out there. It's my curiosity.
Yeah.
Cultural warnings about that day. Yeah, for sure. So what else we got? Here's David Perkins. He said the same thing has been said about hearing drums in the woods. They have been said to people, and they say not to follow them or you'll get lost. So, like I said, Pete, he's from like that Ponca City, and he's Cherokee, and he's saying the same thing about the orbs being little people that'll get you lost. So maybe that's a kind of a cross cultural or cross tribal, maybe is the right term for it. Yeah, Chris, that's. I wish we had Cornell here tonight to get his reaction. He's told me, he said, I got to get up at 4:30 and just can't do it. There's let's see, Huckleberry Charles made it. Good to see you.
Hello.
So I'm caught up on questions now. So if anybody has any others, chime in there. But like I say, the reason we kind of got together tonight, just kind of a teaser to let you folks know that we did make it down there into the Kiamichi Mountains, and we both did take a lot of video, and I'm so happy that I recorded the rock landing outside of camp.
Me too.
For that.
The only thing we missed was that big howl behind us.
Yeah, whoop, you mean? Yeah, but now the howl.
Go ahead.
The howl we heard, that was more distant, and that's what you and I both said. That was reminiscent of like that recording of that Ohio howl.
It was.
but it wasn't close like that.
No.
No. And Will, that's the first time I've ever heard two whoops just like barked out like that, just right on top of each other. Anytime in the past it's been a whoop, like that, and then you may not hear another one.
Yeah.
This was now Cornell set his recorder out and left it going. Of course, his recorder it'll record all night.
Okay.
And when he got back and started going through it, and anybody who wants to check it out, go to the No Such Thing podcast. And it's not video, it's all audio. And it's the entire audio of, of course, it's not the entire night of audio, but it's the audio that has some of the noises that we're talking about recording. Like he caught a really loud wood knock that to me couldn't have been too far from the microphone, and then what a loud whoop as well. So if you go on the No Such Thing podcast YouTube channel, you can find that pretty easy. It's on there, and it's worth listening to. And some of those that he picked up were after we went to sleep, and I'm real surprised it didn't wake us up. But that would have been probably not long before it came and stood beside his tent, and he woke up screaming. I mean, really yelling, "Dave, there's something in my tent."
Mm-hmm.
And he was, but it was full panic mode.
How did he say it?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. It's like, Dave. It's that Irish accent, and it was, we laugh about it now, but at the time it was he would not even entertain the idea of getting back in his tent. He goes, "I'm not getting in the tent.
Said, I'm not doing it, Dave.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sleep in the truck. I don't care. I'll sleep in the front seat." And he did. He slept the rest of the night in the front seat,
Oh, boy.
And I was really hoping he could make it tonight.
The only other thing that I wish I would have got while I was there was you snoring, man, because it sounds just like a alpha Bigfoot. It's like, oh, oh. My phone was charging at night in the truck, and man, I swear I was laying there like, oh my god, that's the best sound effect ever for Bigfoot. It's like,
oh my goodness.
But you said I do the same thing too.
Oh man, you gotta stop. Hey, we have a good time on this show. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, me too.
Squatches don't put on a show when it's just Dave. Well, I have heard things when I'm out there by myself and stuff, but it's when something like that happens and there's a witness there with you to verify and stuff, that's icing on the cake right there.
Absolutely.
Here's David Perkins said, "I did the same thing and caught an odd crying sound in a creek. I remember playing it for you, David, but I still don't know what it was." Now there was an odd, and I'm not saying it's anything related to Bigfoot. I didn't even mention it earlier, but that first night there was a kind of a distant mewling type sound, and I don't know what it was. It was who knows what, but now see what you did, Will. You've even got our wonderful moderator making fun of me.
Guess who, man?
That's okay, it's
and the thing about it is he falls asleep real fast. So I was laying there. Yeah.
When I go to sleep, I can turn myself off just like
3 minutes later. I was like, "Oh my god, is that?" Oh, it's just Dave. He definitely can snore.
No. Shelly just texted me. Okay, we were talking about Shelly Harris. She just texted me a bunch of laughy faces. If you're watching, Shelly, you can come on and join the chat if you'd like to. Any unusual smells in the area? No, there was not. And honestly, very, very few times, I'm trying to think, have I smelled anything when there's movement going on around the camp? And the distinct time that I could report really powerful smell was when I was investigating a sighting by a fisherman on Big Eagle Creek over by Octavia. Man, that was a long time ago. But and I was this was a very, very swampy area. I mean, just thick. And I'd found some footprints going through this area, and I was actually letting a cast dry, and I was just kicked back in the brush there waiting it, and something approached, and the smell got very bold, if you will, and it's like, I don't know, some like a wet dog and roadkill type smell, and then it faded away, which that it might not have been anything to do with that, but that's what I was there for, and I was casting a track, and that was at the same time, so who knows. So the Shelly bait idea has probably been called off. Yeah, Cashew, it has, so Lexi, we are all good as far as I know.
Good.
And
Lexi,
on a sobering note here, I don't know if y'all watched Bigfoot Odyssey the other night. They did a wonderful tribute to Kerry Arnold on that. Brad Hatcher, Iron Dogger. They even had Linda on there, Kerry's wife, and they did an absolutely wonderful tribute to Kerry. So I'm glad to see that they're going to keep that going. I think Kerry would have definitely wanted that.
I think so too. If he built that up like that, he'd want it to keep going. I do too.
And amazing guest, WillStar Mysteries.
Thank you, Casey.
Yeah, now WillStar's reaction wasn't near like Cornell's, but when you can tell by your tone of voice after that rock hit, you're like, What why do they do that?
Like, what's going on?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know. Yeah, and that let's see, how do you say that? Tennessee Ridge Runner.
Ridge Runner.
Welcome. So glad we don't know. So glad y'all are out there finding the truth. All of these things we witness, whether it's a vocalization that we can't identify, whether it's the rock throwing, footprints, these are all just little puzzle pieces. And we don't know much more than what we do. That's like when people ask me I get asked a lot, what do you think they are? And I'll throw some different theories out there, and I'll say the only thing I can tell you for sure that they are is they are out there.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about that at all. So yeah, that's it's a humbling. I'm sure you probably agree with me here. When you're out there very deep in the wilderness, like we were, and something lobs a rock at you, and there's no other people out there
for miles,
or there's that loud vocalization there. It's a very humbling experience. It really, I don't know any other way to put it. It's very humbling because there's something out there that is very stealthy, and if it was up to no good, could do some could make things very bad. But I have no negative experience there. If I was terrified that these things were out to get us or something like that, I would not go out and solo camp. And like I was telling Will, let's see. That was the first camp trip down there I've had somebody with me probably since Cornell and my son Elijah, and that was March before last. Now, and I'm trying to remember if Mark Livewire, if that was before that or after that. But either way you look at it, it's been well over a year, and I've been down there a lot of times since there, and it's generally by myself. So if I was concerned about, and I want to bring this up to Malcolm, right here. He's a friend of mine from down here. He brought up, Because you remember me telling you plan B was if we couldn't get into the area we were going to go over off of Highway 259 up in the Ouachita Mountains,
Yes.
up in there.
Yeah.
Malcolm was in the store today talking, and he said very close to that area is one of those missing 411 clusters of where a
Really?
lot of people have gone missing. So I'm like, oh man, if I'd have known that,
Yeah.
I might have went up there with some Ohio bait.
Remember, we talked about this, buddy.
Yeah.
The one that runs the fastest.
yeah. It's like I don't have to outrun him; I have to outrun you. But no, and actually, where Malcolm was talking about the lady that owns the Bigfoot Museum in Tallahena, Tanya Kordak and her husband Chuck, we had went and camped in that area long ago. September. It was right after I did my second book signing there at the museum. We went and camped there that evening. Of course, we heard some weird stuff, very weird stuff, but not like loud vocalizations or anything like that. But yeah, that was right in that area. And Malcolm was telling me on that map that shows these clusters of, and it runs right along the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, kind of weaves in and out there.
Wow.
So anyway, guys, we've been going just almost an hour and a half. We usually run the shows about that. Does anybody have any questions before we go?
I do.
All right.
When are you going to have one of those videos ready?
Man, I've got a lot of stuff to sift through. So when are you going to have yours ready?
Yeah. The encounter part. I mean, the interview will be this Friday, but the other ones, there's a lot to sift through. But the interview with you will be coming up Friday.
Okay, so y'all be watching for that on WillStar Mysteries. He does a really neat job of putting those videos together. Thanks, Andy, and everybody else. We appreciate that. And like I said, we just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about the trip, and kind of as a teaser to keep your eyes open, because we're going to be having some video of that trip out pretty quick. And now you're not going to see a Bigfoot in the video unless by chance, when I sift through that night vision, that there's something looking back at us, which that's a possibility. But I haven't seen that. I just kind of skipped through because I've got two different night vision videos. They're both about 20-25 minutes each, and I knew that it was the last one that had the rock throw on it, and I just fast forward in that, and 11 minutes and 16 seconds into that second video is where that happens, and the whole lot of what's it doing, type stuff. But that was so neat to hear that.
Definitely.
So
and it, like you said, it's good that there was two of us there. You know what I mean? Instead of you by yourself or whatever. There was, so and really, I mean, it all comes down to, people kind of taking your word for it and stuff. But if you're there by yourself, there's people who know you and your character that know you're not just out there making stuff up, right?
Which I don't, and people that know me know I don't.
No.
But when there's another person there to witness it with you, and then you can actually get that rock hitting the ground close, we didn't see what through the rock, but process of elimination, it
came from
what else there with the vocalizations, with the movement around campus stuff. It was an eventful night.
Absolutely.
And very exciting time. And I'm, glad you was there to catch some of that yourself. So
like I said, I thank you very much for inviting me down. I really had a great time.
Yeah. And thanks for everybody in chat, and good night to you guys. And I appreciate you coming, hanging out and visiting with us while we talked about our camp trip and all. And we'll be, as soon as I can get it edited and Oh, then Will as well. So I don't know who will have their stuff ready first, but I'll put out some stuff when we do.
I'm just doing the interview Friday. After that, it's all you.
Okay.
But you know what
But
I mean?
I want to take my time with it. And,
Sure.
The last one of this magnitude I've done is the one that was 2-part that I did with my son Elijah in Cornell, where I divided it into a date, the one that was the daytime footage and then the nighttime footage. So, I'll probably do the same thing this time. So,
Sure.
Anyway,
Wait to see it.
All right. Again, guys, thanks for all your support. We appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
We'll see you soon. I will be in Jefferson, Texas on Saturday at the Texas Bigfoot conference down there. I will be have my books down there to sign and sell. If anybody's in the area, stop by on Saturday. And until next time, and really glad you stopped by.
Have a good one.